So this tutorial is creating your value landscapes using Photoshop. So if you are at home accessing this on your Chromebook, please make sure you reference the daily slide and click on the Citrix login. Your username for you is going to be your first part of your @MindyPride email without the @MindyPride, and then your password is your Chromebook password. So click on Desktops, PLTW Lab Desktop. This folder appears. Click Show in Folder. Double click on the file that says Run. It will then connect you to a school desktop. And then you will, I was working on other things. You need to make sure that you are logging out at the end of your session. I've been making tutorials all day, so I did not log out. Anyway, here we are. So we have our school desktop. I'm going to get rid of that. Yep, no, I don't want to. Okay. Sorry about that. So, school desktop, here we are. Number one, let's open up Adobe Photoshop. And then we are going to click Create New. And then you want your width to be 11 inches, your height 8.5, your resolution 300, and your title to be Value Landscape. Create. Okay. If your Layers panel is not open, Window Layers. You will also need your swatch panel. You can click there, or you can do Window, and then if we scroll down, Swatches. Of course, it's not what I want. Window, Swatches. Okay, move that over. Close this. There you go. Okay, so that's fine. All right, so let's go onto the internet, and I'm going to navigate myself to dopicoart.com to the project page, because all tutorials are there, including this one, Value Landscape. Our first assignment, it's in Google Classroom. All right, we are going to be creating a landscape like this. You will be choosing a monochromatic color scheme, meaning you are more or less going to be choosing one color tone to just varying values from dark to light. I have a ton of examples. This project usually comes out beautifully for all students, so I'm confident you guys will be able to create a really nice piece. Look at that concept. Look at that. I love that ear. Okay. So, number one, I have a few tutorials here. Fair warning, this tutorial here at the top, the PDF slides, it's the first tutorial I literally ever made. So it's many years old now, and I can't say it's my best. This current video you're watching is literally the most updated version, so I would follow this video. But if you still like the PDF, it will still get you a completed project. But just saying, just pointing out, it's not my best. But I will still open it up and reference it while I'm working for this tutorial. Okay, so we opened up our Photoshop file. So then I tell you to go online and look up flat landscape. That is still true. So I'm going to make a new tab. I'm going to look up flat landscape. And you are going to choose a landscape that has the color scheme that you want. You are by no means going to copy it. You are just choosing one with the color palette that you want. So, I think I'll go with this one. Copy the image, and then edit paste into Photoshop. Now it's really tiny, so I'm going to make it bigger. Control T. All we're doing with this is taking the colors from it to use later. So that's why we have our swatches open. So if you use the eyedropper, there it is, eyedropper, right here. And then with our swatch panel open, remember window swatches, you're going to click on your darkest value first and then click the plus. That's swatch 1, click OK. And it will build a value scale for you at the bottom of your swatch panel here. Okay, so again, our next lightest value is this one. I'm going to click the plus, click OK. See how it's building? All right, click, plus, OK. And do that for all values. Just going through, choosing all the values that I see. That's the same one. There we go. And then I'm going to grab this light pink in the sky. Okay, so now I have my value scale. I'm now going to erase the layer. My layer's over. That has that image because I have collected the colors. That's the only thing you're using it for. Okay, so now I'm going to add a new layer. And I'm just going to go back and reference this tutorial to make sure that I haven't missed anything. But I'm telling you to create your value scale, right? I'm telling you all these things. Yeah, my tutorial, I tell you to label all of the layers. You don't necessarily have to do that. It just has a lot of unnecessary steps. Okay, so we're going to do our sky layer first. So for that, we're going to do a gradient. So it's going to combine your darkest value and your lightest value. So if we are in my toolbar over here, if I double click on one of my swatches, see a little square right there, and then I'm going to choose my darkest value, click OK. And then I'm going to double click on my other box there, and I'm going to choose my lightest value. Okay, so now that's that. And then here's my gradient right here. It gives you, I'll move this out of the way, it gives you a little preview of what it's going to look like up here. And then remember, it's on a separate layer. We click and drag, let go, and you have your sky. We can go in the other direction as well, depending on what time of day you want to do it. And you can change this at the end. If you put all your other stuff in here and then you're like, oh, I really should have done my colors the opposite way, that's fine. One way or the other, it's up to you. You can change it at the end. But I'm going to leave it like that. Okay? So now I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to recheck my tutorial to make sure I'm not missing anything again. Yes, okay. So now we're going to start building our pieces of land. So how we do that is, move this over again. We use the lasso tool. The lasso tool is right here. And then I'm going to click and hold my mouse and start drawing a line across the bottom. And then this is important, still holding on to my click here. I'm going to go all the way around until I get back to where I started, and then I let go. Then I have a selection. I'm going to go over to my gradient tool, click and hold, grab my paint bucket. And remember, things closer to us are going to be darker. Things farther away from us will be lighter. So our first layer here is going to be our darkest value. So I go over to my swatches, I choose my darkest value, and with my paint bucket, I then click and fill in my first section. Okay? To get rid of our selection, it is select, deselect, or Control D. I then move on to my next land slice. So I click a plus button here. Because remember, every single piece of land needs to be on a separate layer. Use my lasso tool. Do the same. Create my land piece. Go all the way around. Let go. Paint bucket. And then I go and I choose my, maybe I'll put this over here. I'll choose my next value up. So it's going to be this one. And then fill it in. Get rid of my selection line, select, deselect. But look what happened. My new layer is covering my first layer. So just move your layer down. Click and drag it and reorder your layers. The next land piece. Move that on the top. Lasso tool. Now, say you want to do, I think I have some examples here. Well, they're on the project page, but that have like water in the center. Not a requirement, but something you might want to do. You can draw different land chunks. So say I'm going to do a little land chunk here, use my paint bucket, choose my next value, like so, fill it in, grab my lasso tool one more time, still on the same layer, and then I'm going to draw like the other side. So I'm leaving like a space open. All right. Fill it in with my paint bucket with that value there. Control D or select deselect, and then just move it underneath. See that? A new layer. I'm going to put it at the top for now. Lasso tool. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do a couple land chunks like so. Paint bucket. Next value. Fill it in. Lasso tool. Like so. Paint bucket. Fill it in. Control D. Move the layer down. You just want enough land chunks to kind of complete your piece. You don't want to have like almost no sky visible, so don't go crazy. But it's very much up to you how many pieces of land you end up having. In general, you're probably going to have around 4 or 5, maybe 6. All right, new layer. Over to the top. And I'm going to just finish off my land in the back. So go all the way across. Go around. Kind of ending my little lake here. All the way around. Lasso. No, I'm sorry. Paint bucket. Next value. And pop. So you may pull more values than you actually use. That's okay. Control D. Move it underneath. Okay. So now my next step, I believe, and I'm going to reference my tutorial to make sure I'm not missing anything, but we've made our land. Oh yeah, you can make mountains if you want. Okay. You can do that. That can work too. You can add in some clouds. Right, so now we're going to start adding in our vegetation, our trees. Okay, so head back here. And now this part's going to sound crazy, but just do it. Make a new layer, put it at the top. Double click on your swatch, make it white, and use your paint bucket to fill in a white layer. Notice how all your progress isn't lost. Don't panic. But creating a tree brush, because that's what we're doing, a little bit of a weird process, just trust me, right? Let me go back to here. Here we go. So then we go to Filter, Render, Tree. This panel will appear. What you need to click on is Advanced. Use Custom Color for the leaves, Custom Color for the branches, and you want to make both of those black. Okay. And then if we go back to Basic here, if we go back to Basic, you'll see Base Tree Type. Then you can choose whatever tree you want. For the demo, I'm just going to use a pine tree, but you can preview all the trees. Okay. So different trees make more sense for different environments. Maybe I'll use that. Okay. So click OK. And then it renders a giant tree. Don't panic. Okay. I know you're like, Ms. Dopico, you're leading me down a path I don't understand. Just trust. So I'm going through the tutorial to make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't believe I have. But now we click Edit, Define Brush Presets. Click OK, and you have your tree brush. So Edit, Define Brush Preset. You can call it tree, or you don't really have to rename it if you don't want to, but there's your tree. Click OK. Look at that. It's a tree brush. Well, right now I have my brush as white, but there's a tree brush. So now we don't need this layer anymore. We get rid of it. Bye-bye. Okay. So now my tree is a brush that I can add in trees. See that? I made way too many in the sky with the wrong color. Now this is important. After you've made your tree, you are then going to go back through your layers. So I'm on layer 2, which is my front. I'm going to make my tree brush. See this? I'm going to make it the same color as that layer. So that's my first layer, so it's the darkest. And then remember, things in the front are larger than things in the back. So I'm going to make my tree brush bigger until I get a size of tree that I'm pleased with. Woo. And it can get kind of large very quickly. Jeez. You gonna let me? Okay. See that? Now in the front, you may only put a handful of trees. Don't get crazy because you don't want to completely cover everything. So then I'm going to make my brush smaller. Not quite that small. And remember, you want to leave some space because the next thing I will show you is adding in like an animal or like a little house or, something in there, a boat in the lake. So you want to leave some space open. So I'm deciding the brush size for my next layer. Okay. Is that too big? Probably. All right. Then I click on the next layer, which is this one. You can turn the eyeball on and off to check which layer you're on. And then make my brush the color of that layer, right? And then I add trees. Like so. You can kind of like make a little bush happen if you just do like the bottom. Like that. Okay. I move on to my next layer. I make it the right color. And make it a little bit smaller. And I put some trees on the next layer. As you go up in elevation with like a mountain like this, you're going to have less and less trees. Less and less tall trees, anyway. But yeah. So that's trees. That's how you do it. Let's see. Next step. Keep going here. Ta-da, trees. Yes. Okay, so we're going to look up. I'm going to put a deer in here just because that's my example. You can put whatever animal you'd like. But look it up with a white background. So deer with white background. And you want to get it in a nice profile so that you can see that it's clearly a deer. That's got... You just want to pick one that is going to snip out nicely. Let's try that one. Copy. Edit, paste. Control T. We're going to snip out the white. So, using the magic wand, click and hold on the fourth tool down, magic wand, click on the white, backspace, Control D. Oh, don't forget like any areas like that in between the horns if you're using a deer. Get in there. Okay. Then I'm going to use my quick selection tool with the plus, and I'm going to select my whole image. Confirm you're on the correct layer, right? Okay, so hopefully we got them all. Okay. Referencing my tutorial to make sure I'm not missing anything. See, we snipped out our deer. I've selected it. Then we're going to do edit fill. And make sure whatever the swatch color is down here is the color you're going to make this deer. And that depends on what layer you're putting your deer on, or your animal, your house, whatever. So I'm going to put him on this layer. And that layer is my second layer, which means it's this one. So I clicked it. That makes it swatch down here. He's selected, so I can do edit, fill with the foreground color. So that's the top little box. Click OK. He's now filled. Control D to deselect. And, oh, geez. Let me get rid of this guy because we don't need him. Okay. I should have kept him selected. Let me, there we go. Control T, scale him down. There we go. And then put him where he needs to be. So keep him selected, or whatever it is selected. You can use the arrow keys to move it as well. And then press enter when you're done. Control D when you're done. And there you go. We got a deer. Doesn't have to be a deer. I want to point that out again. Okay, so we've done trees. We've done your additional thing. Part of your requirements are, that you have at least one additional item in there, additional thing to kind of drive the narrative, meaning make it have like a little story. Because if it's just empty, there's not much story there, right? So, got our deer. We put him where he goes. You can put more than one animal, that's fine. Our sun or our moon. So, what I'm going to do now is change my swatch down there to white. I'm going to use, if I click and hold on the rectangle, the ellipse. I'm going to click and drag and let go. And then I have my moon. Since clearly this is like nighttime. But I'm going to add a fun little thing. I'm going to make it glow. Remember with our line tile paintings, you can use the FX button and do an outer glow on stuff. You can do that on like a circle like this. So white, I'm going to do the spread. There we go. See that? Opacity. And make it normal. Well, you can change all the different things. Multiply. Opacity. Ooh. Well, you guys decide which one you want to use. An overlay. A soft light. The spread come in. Oh, I like that. But you just play around with your blend mode, which is here. And you decide what you want it to look like. Okay. One last thing, and then you're done with the assignment. This is a little big, so I'm going to do Control T. Scale it down. Okay. You need an overlay. So I'll explain what an overlay is. An overlay is kind of a lighting effect that you put on top of the whole thing. So something you can look up for that is abstract lighting. And you'll get this kind of funky stuff. And then I can't really tell you what's going to look great. You got to just, it's like trial and error. You decide which one you want to put in there. I'm just going to grab this one, copy it. And again, this is another trust the process. It's going to look crazy. Edit, paste, Control T, stretch it to fit over the entire thing. I know, it looks crazy. Make sure it's on the top. Then in the layers panel here, you see it says normal. Change it to overlay. Or actually, you can kind of look at all the things. Look how crazy that looks, right? But overlay is the one that usually is going to work best. And then lower the opacity. See that? So it can be nice and subtle. Now, I don't know if I really like this particular one on this. Yeah, I don't think I like this one. So if I put it in there and I don't like it, I can just get rid of it and try another one. So let's try another one. Again, avoid the ones that have watermarks on them. Copy. Edit, paste. Control T. Scale up. Scale up. Make sure it's on the top. Normal to overlay. That one's better. Lower the opacity so it's not as intense. There we go. And you can move it. Yeah, move it around. Okay. And then that's it for this assignment. File. Obviously, you would click save if you were not done with it, save on your computer, leave it as Photoshop, put it in your H drive, this PC H drive, if you're, continuing to work on it. But if you're done and you're ready to hand it in, file, save as, save on your computer, change it from Photoshop to JPEG, this PC, your H drive, and save, and click OK. And then you'll take yourself to Google Classroom and then turn it in. All right, that is it for this tutorial. If you're still confused, let me know. Email me, reach out.